Drawing ellipses. Alright, ellipses are perfectly balanced shapes, and ellipses are circles that are viewed on an angle, so that as we tilt this lens cap cover, it starts out as a circle, and as we shift it compared to our view, it turns into an elliptical shape that keeps getting narrower and narrower and narrower as you twist it compared to your view. So, and what makes drawing these things difficult is that we know they're supposed to be circles, and so it makes it a little bit difficult to get the right shape. So I'm going to show you how to draw a nice balanced ellipse. So circles are perfect shapes, completely symmetrical, and ellipses, while they're not exactly symmetrical in that their diameter is not this consistent, because as you shift it, do you notice how it stays the original width of this circle here, but the depth gets less as you tilt that circle compared to your view. But because the circle is a balanced shape, so is the ellipse a balanced shape. So let's have a look at that. So we start off with center lines when we're drawing a circle, right? So we have a vertical center line here, and we have a horizontal center line. So the same as we would with the circle, but when we tilt the circle and we keep the original width here, but this distance gets smaller, this distance is called the major axis, so that's the axis that it's tilting on, and this way is called the minor axis, which is smaller. So we're going to stay with the full width, and just like a balanced circle is a balanced shape, each half is going to be equal. So if I got that distance there, I want to have the same distance on the other side. I can even measure it to check. Okay. And then, because it starts off as a circle with an equal radius all the way around, we also will have this dimension being consistent at the distant half and the frontal half. So we're going to have the top half and the bottom half also being equal. That looks pretty good. And then we're going to draw the ellipse. So we have a partial arc here, just like we do in a circle. And on this side we have the same shape arc. At either end we have a portion of a circle. And then there's a bit that joins it together. I'm going to show you how to draft one of these with the Ritz axis construction in another video, and you can look for that. So when I've drawn an ellipse nicely, all four quadrants should look exactly the same. Let's darken that in. So here's our vertical center line. This is called the minor axis. The longer dimension, or the width, is called the major axis. Each quadrant is the same size and shape. Adjust that a bit to make it look a little more equal. And then we have an equal arc here, same shape arc here, and then a bit that joins them up. So there we have a nice looking ellipse. Now, often when I draw ellipses, I like to, instead of drawing arcs like that, I like to just get my center lines. And I usually start with a pencil guideline. Figure out how wide compared to how high, depending on how foreshortened that ellipse is. Maybe this ellipse is more foreshortened. And then I like to tilt the page so it's comfortable to my hand. This was a little awkward for me to draw here because it was not sort of parallel to my hand. So I'm going to turn my paper just a bit to make it easier to draw. So then I'm just going to, I like to just draw around and around very lightly till I get a nice even shape. And then once I feel like that's pretty good, then I'll start thickening it in a bit. And then I always look at the shape that I'm drawing if that looks right. I'm thinking my halves don't look quite equal, so I'm just going to check. Yeah, a little short on this side. So an ellipse is always a perfect shape because it comes from a circle, which is a perfect shape. So it makes sense that it's symmetrical. Now, this is an ellipse that's drawn on a horizontal plane. So like if I have, there's my coffee cup. My coffee cup sitting on a surface, on a horizontal table surface, is an ellipse or a circle that's sitting on a horizontal plane, and so the major axis is on a horizontal line. Good coffee. The minor axis is always at a 90-degree angle compared to the major axis. So even when I have a foreshortened ellipse, my vertical axis on something like a coffee cup is going to have a vertical center line here going through the ellipse, and the circle at the top that becomes the ellipse has a horizontal axis. Those always remain at a 90-degree angle. Now, ellipses drawn on a vertical plane are different. This is for a horizontal plane. Now, if I'm sight measuring, I'm going to want to sight measure how wide, say, the width of that mug is compared to the perceived height. So from the front edge to the back edge, we kind of perceive it as a height dimension. So we want to sight measure how high is this compared to how wide. So with this view, it's about a quarter of the overall width. So I can put equal little tick marks there and then be able to draw in my ellipse nicely. And I'm just going to tilt it so that I can do a nicer shape. So you see, if I have my minor axis parallel to my arm, it's easier to draw a nicer shape. Some people like to twist the page so they can do one arc here, turn it around, and do the other arc there because it fits the body better. We sort of have a natural built-in compass in our hand here. So you can use that to your advantage so you don't get awkward edges like that. So, not perfect, but not bad.